Good evening. This is a council meeting
I'm not sure I
taking
believe you.
place on the 20th of the 7th, 25-22. It's an official council meeting to decide on current events for Bunker Ascendant and the Ascendancy and the way forward for the next few months. Would people like to introduce themselves, please? Major Elwood Brenner.
Major Wood Brenner, Soldier Council member, hater of the Hive.
Councilman Reyes.
I am the Arch Warlord of the Free People and Councilman of the Ascendancy.
Councillor Moon.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Moon. I am the councillor for the bureaucrats.
Councillor Brenner, Jacob.
Brenner, Engineering Department.
Councillor Brenner, Napoleon.
Oh, I'm not a councillor, sorry.
Apologies.
No.
Councillor Vlad.
Vlad, councillor for psionics.
Thank you all. We also have some FEF guests in the channel. If you require to post any questions, please post in the chat and they will be picked up in good time. Moving on to the first item of the agenda is a general tactical and strategic update based on drone scans over the weeks following the last operation. General status regarding High Vulcan is that High Vulcan attacks against the Dahl Institute and against Bunker Fortitude appear to have ceased for the most part. We are registering a 93.5% drop in offensive combat activities in those areas. Current offensives are limited to patrols, keeping an eye on their now pulled back front line, which has regressed approximately 2 to 3 kilometres in general, and tactical pushes against perceived weak points, which are having very limited success against the reorganised Bunker Fortitude and Bunker Ascendant military forces. Update regarding the body of the Ascendant tribe. The victory against the Ascendant psionics appears to have blunted their push into tribe territory. They have been pushed out of the tribe territory they were trying to seize, the Blessed Crows territory, or Dead Crows as they are now known, and appear to have pushed back to their original area of operation as identified in Operation 8. Bunker Fortitude, the elections have taken place. A missive regarding the election results will be published very shortly. Bunker Fortitude members are aware of the results. Bunker Ascendant members will become publicly aware very shortly. Bunker Fortitude military appears to be dealing with own internal issues, dealing with their own patrols, and taking stock of the changed Hive situation, and do not appear to be a threat in any way to the Ascendancy at this moment in time. That concludes the strategic and tactical update. I open the floor to the Council to proceed with their agenda as sees fit.
Right. Okay, so we mostly need to decide what we're going to do next time we're all out on the surface. I have some things that I would like to do, and things I think should be priorities. Obviously, everyone will have their own ideas. So I think, particularly after just listening to that update, we need to get rid of the Hive. Just they need to stop being existing. I think that from what was discovered at the last time we were outside, bringing people back from having been affected by the Hive is just not possible, and at which point we need to just wipe them all out as soon as possible with nobody left at all. Does anybody have any further information on the Hive, on Hive Vulcan, that we might not be aware of?
An update.
I just wanted to.
a general update from Ace regarding the status of Project Typhoon. From scans taken on the surface and evidence gathered and data gathered, it is my calculations that Project Typhoon can proceed as planned. All information appears to be available to continue research to the next stage.
Is that information that's readily available?
That information is held by the people that retrieved it on the surface. Obviously, as all information flows through the database, I have been able to make that calculation based on the evidence gathered.
Okay, would anybody like to admit to knowing what Project Typhoon is?
No, but I'll happily admit to not knowing what Project Typhoon is. But if it involves fucking the hive and killing them off completely, I'm all for it.
Is it some sort of weapon that we uncovered previously?
Project Typhoon collectively is the effort to cure the hive Vulcan virus.
Alright, so we think there is a way forward.
By cure, it corresponds to your understanding, Councillor Moon, that the cure is to remove the virus, thus killing the host.
Right.
And stop the virus spreading.
Then. That's fine then. Okay, so yes. Okay. Jacob and I would say Canary, but she's not here, so potentially Napoleon. Can you have a check of all of the records and things that we have on Project Typhoon and find out what it is, seeing as we all seem to have forgotten or aren't sharing that we do know. So if we can know where we're going with that, then we can do it if it's going to work. But if we don't know what it is, then we are just going in circles.
The commencement of Project Typhoon was the development of the hive stum patch.
Oh right, did we give it a name? Did anyone know we'd given it a name? Okay.
If we had, I'd forgotten. But as far as I'm aware, we are also looking into, or Medic Simon, I'm not sure of his surname, Dr. Simon is looking into the next process of deactivating hive people, with the end result aiming to be a cure and reversing the hive process.
This is correct.
When we were on the surface last time, the hive that we tried to bring back, the hive that we looked at their brain, and Vlad put himself at a great deal of danger to do that, was so far gone, and they had only been in the hive a matter of months, if that. And there was nothing to bring back.
Right, well, I wasn't aware of that. I mean, it may be that catching it sooner, there is still the option of saving that person's life.
I believe when Canary scanned to see whether or not she thought the risk was enough for us to try and bring him back, which is what I was trying to do at the time, when she scanned him, he was about 17% himself. But again, that was after several months, so maybe if it's someone who's only been infected a day or two, we could save them. But if we eradicate the hive, that's no longer a problem.
Yes.
My calculations of gathered data would lead to the probability that Vlad's assumption is correct, and that the chance of recovering people from the virus is very much related to the time infected. However, that time appears to be a relatively short amount of time.
If we haven't gone too far down that route, this is going to sound harsh. I really don't care. We need to move those resources onto looking at destroying them, because if it is a case of we only have a couple of days to save somebody, we can save far more people by just dealing with the hive, dealing with hive Vulcan, getting rid of them, stopping them being a threat to anybody.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
know
well-
that I know that we were looking at the queue because Fortitude have a large group of people inside the bunker that are infected, but it sounds like they have now been infected for too long.
By my calculations, I am 98.7% sure that the people within Bunker Fortitude cannot be recovered.
Right. So yes. Oh, Canary is now with us.
I do agree, Councillor, that we need to concentrate more on destroying Hive Vulcan than we do on recovering those lost to it.
I mean, if they'd been away, then that's a different situation. But if it's literally only people that have been, even it sounds like even by the time we are next on the surface, it's going to be a couple of days. We've got to then find them, and then we've got to queue with them. And I think that time is better spent destroying the hive completely.
Yeah.
I
And
understand.
the only
Okay.
time they're going to get infected to that point is
Agreed.
if they are captured. Because if they're with us, we're going to use a cleanse patch on them straight away, and that does clear it up, so long as you're quick.
Riker, am I right that you stood for council member, I assume, of military at Fortitude?
That would be correct.
Did you win?
I did, yes.
Thank you. Good.
Yay!
As obviously we will have to have some discussions probably next time we're on the surface about how and if the Fortitude wants to become a closer member of the Ascendancy and if you will have a place on the council, etc. That's a longer discussion, not for now. But for now, do you understand? Does it make sense to you that from what we have discovered, we cannot save the infected hive in Fortitude? We're not giving up on. We're not just giving up on them. We can't do it.
I understand what your data says. Our own scientists will want to have their own look and check, of course.
That's
They're quite
entirely.
determined, but I understand.
Yeah, hopefully they'll prove us wrong.
Yeah.
It is the hope, yes.
Yes. But as I say, I don't want Fortitude to think we have just given up on something that is a more immediate problem for yourselves than it is for us. We haven't, but we have to make choices. We only have so many scientists and medics, and we need to choose what we are going to focus on. And I think the agreement from our council is that we focus our resources on just getting shot of them completely.
My understanding from the research I have observed is that the cure will literally do that. It will cure. However, when people are too far gone, it will kill them. So it will cure them or kill them. It will have the desired effect depending on how corrupted they have become.
Yeah, just to interrupt, sorry I'm late. I had paperwork to do elsewhere, but when we found Quinn out on the field, he was too far gone, and as Ace has just said, the from a medical perspective, I could have removed the biological side or removed the mechanical hive side, but one wouldn't have survived without the other. And based on the conversation I had with, was it Eli from Aegis? Just based on the small bits of conversation we had, I think he had the same view, is that they haven't found a way to deal with it either.
I'm not sure what time when you appeared. The general consensus, Canary, is that we pull back on trying to work on a specific cure that would work on everybody, as that's not possible. The cure, as in if it will destroy the hive, and if they happen to have been in the right, not been hive for too long, will cure them of the hive. Is what we will be focusing on, which is apparently called Project Typhoon, but none of us remembered. And that's what we're going to focus on. And our main push is to get rid of the hive this time out if we can. As it we had a briefing at the beginning, which the hive have basically pulled back. They're doing the bare minimum of patrolling, trying to attack, not getting anywhere. It sounds like we've got them on the ropes, and we need to press that now.
My suggestion would be for further information about what has been achieved with Project Typhoon so far would be an update with Caldwell Davis and Michael Shannon, as they have so far undertook the majority of the research alongside Canary's findings from Operation 9.
Okay, we don't have either of them. But we can find that information and put together some sort of... I'll put together a briefing document for the council, or get them to if they know better. Is Michael a medic, I guess?
He is, yes.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Yeah, so between me and Canary, we'll find out what's going on and let you know. Oh, Vasily, you can tell us about something?
Yeah, so I know a bit about the engineering side of things that was connected to what they were working on in the field, because I spoke to Caldwell about it. It's what's led to the appropriately named CHAPS device, which is the Caldwell Hive Anti-Perception System, which
Vasily
allows...
talking on mute.
No, we can hear him.
Oh, I can't hear Vasily.
Yeah, we can hear him.
It's just you, Vlad. I don't
I
like
will be
it.
1 moment.
Yeah, which is the device that projects a cloud of nanites that essentially hides you from Hive Vulcan entities. But they use that to test.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Vasily specifically?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
I assume you
I
cannot
can't.
hear him.
That's
Yeah,
well.
I still can't hear him.
That's well funny.
Weird.
Please proceed, please proceed, Engineer Vasily, and I will offer a synopsis of your conversation for Vlad's benefit.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, from what he told me, Typhoon is just a catch-all term for the research into the anti-hive stuff. It's just the name that was given to the catch-all project, as far as I can tell. Michael, I didn't speak to Michael about much of it, but it seems to be just that's where all of the research was going.
Okay.
But yeah,
basically, so the synopsis is that Project Typhoon is the cumulative research efforts towards defeating Hive Vulcan so far, which mainly consists of Caldwell Davis's new CHAPS device and Michael Shannon's stun patch, and working towards a cure.
Right. Okay, so... right, okay. Has the device... I'm very squeaky. Has the device and the stun patches now been fully tested?
Yes, my understanding is that the stun patches and the device are now tested and available for mass use.
Right, okay. Is there any problem with fabrication of the patches in the device? Is there anything that... Right, okay, so CHAPS devices can be built by engineers. How many engineers? Is this something that we can get done by the engineers within the bunker, or is it something that FEF engineers need to do?
It would be an FEF created device, it is a non-standard design.
They're super complicated, and you also, in order to use...
non-FEF engineers help an FEF member to make more?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
The other thing to note about them is you must be proficient in computer programming to be able to utilize the device. You don't have to be an engineer to utilize it.
My chat is going strange again.
But you do have to have training in computer programming. And the success of the device or how successful it is when you use it is dependent on how well trained you are.
Okay, so Jacob, as the council member for the engineers, can you get an eye on how many we could build, how many people can use them? It sounds like it would be very useful, and hence we probably need at least one, if not more. Couple would probably be good. But equally, I fully understand if it needs a trained person as well. Making loads is less useful.
To be specific, the skill involved in its use is the hacking skill, and advanced hackers are able to get a greater use from it.
I was guessing that.
So
Yeah.
I do have hacking. I can computer program. I'm not very advanced in it at the moment. I can look through the blueprints, but I won't be able to do that for a little while because of ongoing projects at the moment.
I do have hacking and I'm advanced in it if that is of any use to you for research purposes, I don't know. Or building.
Okay, so what does this thing do? Does it just hide you for them so that we could get in closer so we can get whatever this cure is in the right place? Is that the plan?
That is the purpose of the device, yes, Elizabeth. It appears in field testing that it is not 100% effective against the more intelligent hive, but the hives such as Gollum you can walk past almost touching without them being able to detect your presence, as long as the hacker is actively monitoring the software and updating as necessary.
Okay. Well, presumably if it's been tested, there's definitely one already.
Correct. It is owned by Caldwell Davis.
Okay. Right. If we can't get...
Is this a single person thing, or can it be expanded to a group?
The blueprint has been released by Caldwell Davis and the engineer that developed it, so any engineer can build more.
I meant more in actual use.
So it will cloak a number of people that can stay close to the operator.
Perfect.
And as long as they're not being shot at, from my understanding.
Or shooting or committing overt actions that any individual would think strange. Once strange things start to happen, the realization will probably be made that something is there that shouldn't be.
Okay, we can
it's a stealth in, make no noise, be quiet, just sneak your way past thing. It's not.
Yes.
We can probably manage with just one then. We may have to manage with just one. Yeah. Okay. It sounds like it's something that would be really useful to have, but it possibly not the end of the world if we don't. Do you agree, Major?
We just have to shoot a way through instead of sneaking past.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously, I'd rather sneak, but I know lots of people like shooting them. So, okay. So we've got one.
Bad hive's a good hive.
Yeah, well, I agree. So we've got one. If we do manage to get hold of more, if someone does have the time. Box thing that was built for Max. Jacob? Box thing that was built for Max. Vasily is asking the question.
I'm not sure what. Oh, the Faraday cage with the base code and the hive base code.
What did that do? Is it a way of stopping the code getting out, spreading? I'm guessing here. Okay.
Yes. So the code, if it's uploaded on any device, will take it over, is what we believe. So we've secured it on a separate device that's got no connection to the outside world, which hopefully we can influence and research. But yeah, at the moment it's on a device that can't interact with the outside world.
Okay. So as things stand now, am I right? And please tell me if I'm not, because I'd really like to not be right. The method that we have in place of getting rid of the hive is to shoot them a lot. We don't have anything, I'm going to say cleverer. I don't mean it in a bad way. We don't
Well,
have.
the cure that they were talking about for Project Typhoon has the desired outcome of either killing them or curing them. I don't know quite what the delivery of that is.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to. If it's a liquid, I'm more than happy to take a pump spray and a hose instead of a LMG.
Is it something where if we
in
infect
any
one,
way.
it will infect others? Or do we have to do it on a one-by-one basis?
Vlad has highlighted the current issue with the cure in its current form, in that it has to be directly delivered and will only affect the individual it is delivered to. It has no method of spreading itself.
Who have we got left that was around when we dealt with Hive? Oh, the first Hive, the name of which is escaping me.
That would be Hive Apollo.
Hello.
I knew it was an A. I just got to remember the rest of it.
I was there.
I was around there.
So with Hive Apollo, how did we deal with them in the end? Mostly for my benefit and everybody else's who wasn't there.
I was the
From
lead.
my recollection, it was extreme violence.
No,
Yeah,
it was literally.
Vasily?
It was literally the opposite of extreme violence. So it wasn't that. We essentially created a jamming signal. Hive Apollo essentially transmitted its core code into control creatures and took
If
to
you
the.
did say anything other than extreme violence, can someone just let me know?
Vlad, Vasily is currently explaining the solution to Hive Apollo.
Okay.
I will tell you when he is finished.
Cheers.
So, yeah, he took to the field literally the core code, the personality, whatever you want to call it, the artificial intelligence itself, took to the field. However, when the host body it was in was nearly destroyed, it would transmit itself to another body somewhere else. So what we did was we analysed the transmission code, and we essentially created a jammer. It probably the early kind of a similar version to the chaps, in that it disrupted the Hive's communication network. So we essentially lured Apollo into the field. Once we'd engaged with him, we turned the jammer on, and then we committed some extreme violence. But just violence on its own would have just resulted in him sending his code elsewhere. So we had to prevent him from going somewhere else, take the body down, and then a specific nanite kill virus was instituted into the body just to make sure it stayed 100% dead and didn't do anything weird.
So for Vlad's benefit, what they had to do was basically trap the Hive Apollo signal into one body and then kill that body with a specific virus. So it sounds like the cure would do that bit. Do we know if Hive Vulcan works the same way?
My current data says that a number of Vulcans, which are likely the equivalent of the Apollo model, have been defeated in the field. However, there is no evidence to suggest that the transference method works in the same way, and one thing that has been noticed is that whilst Hive Apollo were exact copies in terms of specification of each of the Apollos, which were destroyed prior to the final one being destroyed, which was also identical, the Hive Vulcans all seem to have differences, slightly different makeups, armament, and indeed, as you are aware, seem to be created from experienced or exceptional individuals, such as the ex-soldier Quinn.
Okay. Right. So we know how to kill the hive one at a time. that doesn't seem very productive. We know how to do violence on them, and we don't know how to actually get rid of them currently. So,
what is the state of the cure? I mean, what state is it? Is it a patch that has to be applied? Is it a targeted virus? Is it a...
It is a patch that is applied to one individual and will affect that individual only.
And that's coded nanite, basically, isn't it? I guess.
It is, Major Elwood.
So can we not weaponize that code? Our munitions are basically nanite.
Vasily is telling us differently, and Vasily, can you explain?
Yeah, the patch that's been developed is just a stun. It doesn't destroy the virus. You would have to do some form of field surgery, like Canary was trying, in order to be able to remove the actual virus itself. The patch that's currently in existence just stuns the creatures. It doesn't kill them.
Okay, glad for your benefit. We don't actually have a queue; we have a stun. Right.
Okay.
So
one thing that might an idea that potentially could help with this. What about the emitters at the Dahl Institute? Is there a way it could be somehow combined to make it a wider spread?
All that's going to do is make them all fall over. I mean, I like the idea of them all falling over, but they will get back up.
I mean, if they're getting to a point where they think they could create a virus that will actually kill them, if we can somehow transmit that via the emitters.
I don't think they can be moved. Or sorry, I don't think they work whilst they're being moved. Is probably better.
The restriction with the emitters is the need for high bandwidth transmission with the Dahl AI to enable it to make the constant calculations necessary to hold the hive at bay.
There is definitely something that we could do in terms of maybe building something similar to an emitter at the Dahl Institute, or like the Major said, perhaps weaponizing such. It's definitely something that could be looked into, but at the minute, as we've mentioned before, it depends on the percentage of the hive infection, which seemingly is very low to be able to cure. So if we're going off cure as in kill or cure, then a weapon would work based on the fact that you're either removing what you can or just killing them outright.
Yeah, that's what we're going to have to go with. It doesn't sound.
There's no reason why we couldn't build something like or weaponize it, I guess, from but it would take time and research to do such, and probably working alongside the engineers to do such.
We have a sample of the pure Vulcan virus. I mean, it's base code.
Yeah.
So, and currently the only thing we have is stun. We don't have any actual cure. Is this something that requires more research with people with computer experiences and using that code to effectively create an antivirus? Or
I believe that Michael was doing research into the hive. I'm not sure if he was going to work on more preventative nanites than curing nanites, though, based on my last conversation with him. Obviously, like I've said, I have experience in the hacking side of things, so it is potential we could create an antivirus. I'd have to speak to Michael and see what he's currently planning, because like I say, I know he is and has worked quite hard on getting things moving with the hive, so I don't want to step on toes.
Neri, can you go away after this meeting and have that conversation and explain that whilst we'd love to be able to concentrate on bringing people back from the hive, from your experience and what Ace is telling us, that is just not practical, and we need to just look at stopping the hive full stop.
I think his plan less cure was more stopping people getting an infection, so being proactive rather than reactive.
We just need to.
It does make sense to work on a preventative measure, as much as we need to work on the riddance of them as well.
A vaccination, so to speak.
Yes. Yeah. But I will speak to him and
Especially if
see
that
what.
can then be modified in case we come across any other hives, because we don't know, there might be others out there. So that
I'm gonna-
prevention.
Oh, they will be.
If I
Yeah,
may,
I mean-
if I may point out something which may be of aid to the medics and engineers, my observations of the differences between Hive Apollo and Hive Vulcan. Whilst Hive Apollo didn't seem to depend on the state of a body, as long as it was largely intact, whether it was alive or dead, Hive Vulcan seems to be dependent on the body itself to function. So it requires a live host, and it does appear that the abilities of that host affects the abilities of the hive that it will become. The Hive Apollo virus was an animatory virus that could basically use the body as a construct, whereas Hive Vulcan relies on a cybernetic interface, a symbiotic relationship, to operate a live body and help keep that body alive whilst enhancing it and protecting it from radiation. This is my synopsis gathered from all the scans and research that the FAF have conducted to date, and I hope this is helpful.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like we're not at a point where we can just go back under the surface and wipe them out. I think that we need to then, at what point, focus on if engineers and medical can decide if they need more samples, what they need samples of, and military, we just look at. As I said, it sounds like we've pushed them back quite a lot and we've undermined them quite a lot. We just need to keep up on that and make sure that we don't give them chance to recover. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
we've knocked them down. Stomp them.
Yeah.
Based on what Ace just said, I'd say it's also we need to keep them away from particularly talented, powerful people. So, like, obviously our top soldiers, we don't want them getting captured because then they're turned into top soldiers on their side.
Well, I'm quite
But
keen on keeping
also
them away
just
from
thinking-
everybody.
Well, yeah, but I'm just thinking if it looks like they might go into remove into, say, the Tribe of the Ancestors lands, we don't want a bunch of psychic Vulcans.
Well, this is why I say currently the Hive are pretty much pinned down, I think. I don't know if pinned down's the right term, but definitely not in a tactically advantageous position. And I think we just need to keep on top of that until we're in a point where we can actually destroy them.
Keep the
Major?
boot down.
Major, you happy with that as a
Yeah,
plan?
that seems to be the crux of it. On what Vlad was saying, I'll be basically, if I look like I'm going to be captured, I'll be sorting myself out. There's no need worry that I won't be coming back. Who do we have who's exceptional at computer programming?
Max.
Because
We're
the
not
virus
sending Max
itself,
into the field.
no, I'm not saying that at all. The Hive code we have is basically computer programming.
Max and Cal are the two that I am aware of being exceptional at getting in to computer code. I don't know of anyone else. That doesn't mean to say there isn't anybody else. They've just never held their hand up.
But it seems to me that the breakthrough in effectively the antivirus would come from people like that rather than myself. I mean, I'm quite happy to mow Hive down all day, but
yeah,
that's not a finishing thing. We have the pure code in this Faraday cage, so it won't take over anything. It's not so much the engineers; it's people with the computer skills we need to look at to modify that code to become the antivirus. I mean, the engineers would sort the next step out of weaponizing it, but it's the code we need modifying. So if perhaps Matt or Cal
I
can
am
look
advanced in the hacking section, if that's what you mean. Based on the research that I'm having to do, I have changed some of my learnings to reflect the ability to hack to an advanced status.
Yeah, so it's this is effectively a computer code, a particularly nasty virus of one. it seems to me that people with that sort of skills are the ideal ones to come up with the antidote and potential end of it.
So
Yes, and no, because you have hacking, which does help in terms of but the basics of nanites and the reconstruction of nanites is something that all medics are able to do. From an augment standpoint, obviously I use more advanced nanites, but there's no reason that other medics can't do such. We can all make nanites do other things in terms of the medical ones. So there's no reason why other medics couldn't be involved in that. I understand that hacking and computer programming as such will help, but I don't see there's no reason why another medic couldn't, such as Michael.
This is where teamwork comes in, right?
Yeah,
Medics and hackers work together on it.
Yeah.
Well, I am both, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is it's not just me that can do that. It's that medics do have the ability to reprogram those nanites to do things that potentially others couldn't.
So
It's
Ace,
the code
Ace,
itself I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Ace has shared a map with us that I can't read.
I wish to give clarity to my original strategic update, as I believe it will offer clarity on your current discussions. At the start of Operation 9, the orange line represented the current battlefront between Hive Vulcan and Bunker Fortitude. The Hive have now fallen back approximately 2 kilometres to the radiation zones within their lands. Bunker Fortitude have held the front line, but have not pushed any further. They are taking the opportunity to resupply and rotate out their troops and deal with any rogue infections. Similarly, on the Institute, whereas the Hive would push right up to the Institute, they have now fallen back to the radiation zones around the Institute, so are approximately up to 1 kilometre away from the Institute now, and are not pushing any direct threat against the Institute itself, as the emitters are up and running.
Okay. So, this is only vaguely my area of expertise. So feel free to tell me I'm talking rubbish, Major. If we decide to base ourselves out of the Dahl Institute, we can hopefully push Hive back a bit further.
Seems reasonable.
Okay. Obviously, if they're mostly hiding in radiation zones, we need everybody to be prepared for that. But we can do that. Particularly if we can tell everybody before we go that there will be a lot of radiation-based missions, everyone can be set for that. Okay. So we have got other things. Unless anyone's got anything immediately that we've missed on the Hive, we have got other things to talk about as well. And I think, Ace, are you happy that we will base ourselves out of the Dahl Institute and look to push the Hive further away from the Dahl Institute, unless Fortitude needs more help on their side as well?
If that
there are
isn't-
several things I would wish to raise.
Yeah.
So, as you're aware, obviously there was the report about the tribe of the ancestors. Considering now we've seen examples of them having brought members of Bunker Fortitude into their fold, members of the surface settlement, FEF members, alongside members of the Free People. I do feel we need to keep pressure on them and keep pushing at them so that they can't regain a foothold.
I agree.
I have some important information for everyone on that as well, that came up recently during my research in the last couple of days. I have seen through someone else that the White Lady is indeed the witch that we faced in the past.
Knew it. Yeah.
I saw her clear as day Like, I've seen her 2 feet away from me. It was her.
I think that is more a confirmation that what we were assuming, but that's always useful. Just before we go on to this, Julian had asked a question for General Washington. As far as you'd like to share, what are the plans for Fortitude military with respect to withdrawal of High Vulcan? Have you had chance to make any plans yet? Because I'm aware that this is kind of new.
Plans are currently being drawn up. I've only just got into the position the past couple of days, so it's
Exactly.
understanding what we've got and not stretching ourselves too far.
Yeah, as I said, if there is anything we can do to help push the hive back from your side as well, then obviously we will. It's just the Dahl Institute is somewhere we know we can set up, and also we would like to keep hive away from. But that doesn't mean to say that we won't pop around and help from your side as well. Okay, yeah.
Perhaps
so
we can do a bit of a pincer movement and really fuck them up there.
Yeah, so the Ascendant tribe, because we could talk about the hive forever.
Yes.
Yeah, the Ascendant tribe. Okay, so as far as I can tell, Vlad, Napoleon, everybody, because I'm high level knowledge, don't know details. They are the White Lady Stroke Witch is acquiring, gaining people and giving them psychic abilities, and then they're just kind of wandering around being dicks.
Yeah.
Have we seen them do anything that look like they have a reason for doing this? Have we got any idea what is actually going on?
To give you a bit of insight that might help with motives, during me probing into the mine to find out what was going on, it felt like there were other people trying to join that conversation. I think it's a kind of hive-mindy situation where she's in everyone's head, because she did that before. Like, she was controlling multiple people at once. And when I was talking to people, they said that the lady offered them power, and then they accepted, and that's when they got these gifts.
Okay, but we haven't. Rays, you may know because you have been aware of them for longer than we have. Are they? Do they seem to have an aim? Vasily, they're worshipping her like a god.
Yes, they bear all the hallmarks of religious zealots. They want to spread their influence to everyone and spread the word of their prophet or whatever they are called.
So currently, it's spreading, acquiring more people, but there doesn't seem to be a particular point to it.
Not that I or my soul have been able to discern.
That's good
So
because
just general assimilation.
Yeah, I mean that's bad enough. It's just a case of if we'd had any sort of clues as to what the end game might be, we'd be in a better position to stop it happening. But it doesn't sound like we have.
So our basic current major threats are hive and psychic hive.
These aren't hive.
No,
so
but
there is another thing I want to bring to the table for the council to talk about. Obviously, council members will be aware, I'm sure, but for everyone who was not there at the last event, there was a disagreement between myself and the chieftain of one of my tribes, Skane of the Risen. Since then, I've had disturbing reports in from some of my scouts that I believe at this point he might be in some way in negotiations with this rebel tribe of the ancestors to join them.
right. What can we do to support you with this problem?
We'd need to investigate fully, and obviously we can't let this tribe of the ancestors' numbers be swelled. So they need to be persuaded that that would be the wrong path to be chosen.
Is everybody happy that that is something that we should do? Our council? Yeah. Ace, if you...
I agree. We can't let them get bigger.
Yeah,
It's
Ace,
just more power for her.
can you put that on the list of things that we will be doing next time we're on the service?
Yes.
Right,
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Just based on the ones we met when we were out on a mission, there were some that they had a brain activity that showed psionic ability, but there was no evidence of usage of ability. So I'm not sure if some of them are even aware that they have these this power as such. They all showed vital signs of long-term stress to their brain, heart, lungs, which was consistent with long-term adrenal release. But and obviously they had traces of compound 7 in them, but there was no sign that they actually had used any abilities as such. Just for
Right.
anyone who doesn't know, that I'm not quite sure that they even know that some of them even know they have these abilities.
How
I think she's
much?
currently massing people, and then
Yeah.
she's going to activate them all at once.
How much damage is this doing to them? Are they all just going to drop down dead? Is this
I mean, yeah.
a time limited problem?
Well, it said so. The ones that I managed to get a sort of sly scan on when we were chatting to them was that obviously they all had traces of compound 7 within their bloodstream, which I'm not sure if that's anything to do with the witch, but it did state in my scans that that medical studies with sort of a human body to the levels of that they had they'd soon be killed by that level of exposure.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
when I encountered this tribe, Vasily was there as well. They were all drinking from a spring that contains C7 and seemed to be quite happily drinking from it. They were dancing around like loonies around it, but they were also drinking it.
Napoleon, if you're still here, I think you are. Am I right in thinking that people with psionic abilities show some level of compound 7 in them anyway, based on the research we were doing?
Napoleon's
Only-
currently investigating the link between C7 and psionics.
Okay. I'm just going to check our research papers again. I think he may have found traces of it in me.
Okay. Well, that sounds like that's something to continue checking into. Also, Julian has mentioned that if we can find things that will prevent bloodshed, that would be good, which I do actually genuinely agree with, even though it may not seem so at times. So possibly if we can, when we go out to find out what the Risen are doing and what conversations Skane is having with the Ascendant tribe, then it's something that can definitely be mentioned that because they are healers, I'm sure. Oh, well, I certainly would like to hope that that if we tell them that joining her will kill them, that they will think twice about it. So if we have anything that we can use as evidence or proof, or I'm not sure how much demonstrable scanning information we have that could be shown or talked through to Skane. If we can stop them from joining before it becomes a bigger problem by pointing out that it's going to be very dangerous to them, that has to be a first step.
Of course, I don't want needless bloodshed with any of my tribes. But if an example needs to be made, then Skane must die. If he is not prepared to listen to reason and is negotiating to join this psychic cult, then then his death would be, I think, would be enough to move the rest of his tribe away from such a hasty decision.
Well, we'll start with the route of trying to explain why it's a bad idea, and explain to his tribe if he doesn't listen.
I do have an idea on how to help with the explanation.
Good, great.
He never met the witch, but I can show him her.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's very useful. Just truth of the fact that we do have their best interests at heart. Raise, Julian has asked what's the current internal status of the Risen within the three tribes given the recent dispute. I believe they're still a full member of your
Yes,
tribes,
it
yeah?
was. All that was settled in the eyes of the ancestors. So that has been left as is. I have put requests in to start getting them more updated medical supplies, as in nanite patches and the like, so that to assist them and aid them in their medical practices as needed throughout what they're doing.
So,
Any messages I've sent to Skane so far have been ignored.
So Skane said that the reason he did what he did was because the tribe needed better medical supplies. You are trying to fulfill that wish, and he is still turning away and turning to
Yes.
this psychic cult. Okay, that's useful for us to know. Obviously, if we can deal with this without there being bloodshed, what you do as an internal tribe matter is entirely up to you. But that would be our first part, is to deal with it without bloodshed. If the rest of the tribe are willing to listen and he isn't, then we don't need to have that conversation here. We know what will happen.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Vlad, did you had anything else on? Is it the tribe with the ancestors? Because I've written down Ascendant tribe and realised that is just not right.
The tribe of the ancestors. Yeah. Only thing really is that when I was having a look around in people's heads, there was lots. They were talking to the ancestors at the same time and trying to get them in. And I've just had a quick look at the report, and the thing that Napoleon noticed was when I was doing that, the C7 in their heads was pumping out a lot more power. So it's like there's some kind of defense mechanism to try and stop me going too deep and potentially react to what I'm doing. So I didn't go too far, but I think if I'd have carried on trying to probe further to get more, bad things might have started happening to me.
So, with regards to the fact they seem to be acting without aim, are they just batteries or capacitors? Does she need a lot more power, and by absorbing each of these into this tribe, they're effectively storage capacitors for power for her?
Possibly. We just don't know.
And also, in regards to this risen leader, this could all just be mummery. He could already be under her spell and going through the motion of the tribe join without bloodshed, and she loses a load more people.
He could be in the time since we left the surface when we had the original issue. He definitely wasn't with her.
No.
But yeah, I mean, he could have already joined by now.
Well, he might not have had a choice, is what I'm saying. Maybe under her spell, and she's using him in the negotiations to convince the rest of the tribe to join without having too much of a battle about it.
It's smart, and she is smart. That sounds like something she would do.
So if we can take a kind of some ability to scan for psionic influence when we speak to him, it might be worth doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Am I right in thinking any medic can do that now, thanks to Ivan's research?
Yes. We've all got the ability to. We've all got a size scanner.
Cool.
Do you need to be a medic to be able to use one of them?
I believe so, yes. But,
okay.
I'm not 100% sure, but I believe yeah, it was a medical
That is correct.
addition.
Okay.
And I can, as we've found out in the field, I can remove psionic influence from people, depending on the strength of it. So, when one of our soldiers got controlled, I managed to remove it once. I think it was Canary told me he'd been influenced.
So, when we do go out to speak to Skane and try and convince them, we need to take a medic and probably Vlad, just for many reasons. Okay, so again, I think that's we have a definite task regarding the ancestors, and then we have further research needed as well. So I think we can stop that one. Project.
Just
Oh,
as a side to that, we were working on some, and I believe there was some research into some anti-psyker patches. Where are we with that? I think
yeah,
that
that's a good
and
point.
Napoleon is still working on it. I don't know if he's here.
I've
been helping
research
him
is
best I can.
research is ongoing according to the written one. So yeah, so that sounds like it's underway. Good.
We think we're making headway, but we're not there yet.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So Project Archimedes. So this is what? Oh, I just want to call him Captain Eye Patch now. Thanks, Major.
I'll do. Captain Cotton Uncle. I'll do.
I do think it should be officially entered in council records that gobshite is now referred to as Captain Eye Patch.
Okay, well, as long as everybody knows who I'm talking about.
I would remind council members that a councillor of Bunker Fortitude is here with present, and you may well be speaking about a member of Bunker Fortitude's council.
It's all right, Ace. They'll get a chance to see my my comic book about Captain Eye Patch too. It's fine, don't worry.
Riker, hi. Did the captain, whose name I genuinely have forgotten, win a council seat? Wilkerson, thank you, Vasily.
Captain Wilkerson is now our counsellor for engineers, yes.
Awesome. We shan't be calling him Captain Eye Patch then. Because
I
we
wouldn't
don't.
recommend it. I really wouldn't. I'm going to ignore the fact that you called him such a name for now.
It was, from me at any rate, was genuinely I couldn't remember his name. And thank you for putting the whole thing out. Oh, Kincaid won the bureaucrats. Matthews, don't know that name. Congratulations, Washington, Wilkerson, engineers, and Alverson for scientists. Okay, right. Anyway, so when he went to Fort Leon, the begins with an R.
Ryback.
Thank you, Ryback facility. He left with some data that we didn't know how was there, and some data that we did know was there. It was about a project from before the fall that was using satellites to potentially track psychic activity. Now, obviously, that was a very long time ago. We don't know if the satellite is still up there. We don't know if we have any way of contacting it. We don't know why. Yeah, Julian, we now discovered that he's the elected engineer for councillor for New Fortitude, and we are being more precise, more respectful. Yeah, so we don't know why that information was required. I don't know really where I'm going with this. We don't know if it's a problem, but it might be a problem. Obviously, for Vlad, someone having the ability to track all psychers all over the planet is a problem. And I don't think
It's a concern.
It's a concern. It's not something that I think I think we have enough things that are more immediate problems that we are trying to deal with, that we just need to be aware that this is potentially an issue rather than is something. We don't
To
even
be
know if
fair, it is also potentially an asset. It may be useful against the tribe of the ancestors.
Yeah, sorry. Someone's actually read more of the document than I have. For me, it's not from my anti-hive project. Okay, so yeah, thank you, Julian, for pointing that out. It potentially Wilkerson wants this information so he could repurpose the satellite to attack the hive. It's not impossible. We don't know. Fundamentally, Vasily, you say it sounds like it could solve one of our very current issues. What particular issue do you think it could solve?
Tracking the tribe of the ancestors and the witch.
Okay, yeah. Vlad, I'm assuming you can't hear him, but you're saying we could use it to track the tribe of the ancestors and the witch. Oh, that unfortunately, yes. Also, we would probably have some sort of issue on our hands inside the bunker for all of the psychics that have been hidden for years that don't want finding.
Yeah, I would say if there's a way for us to not aim it at our own people, then great. Because if we can just scan outside for the ones that we like, in that area where we know the tribe of the ancestors are, we're not outing anyone. If we start outing people in the bunker, it's going to start looking like a witch hunt.
Well, yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the type
You,
If I may
Julian,
interject, I would just like to state that a working satellite would offer many, many, many opportunities beyond its described use.
yeah.
A working satellite offers the opportunity for communication over long range. As you are aware, wired communication by any means over long range is all but impossible due to all known population centres being nuked and information centres being wiped out. So as it stands at the moment, the only way to really necessitate long range communication is via such a satellite.
Okay. I mean, I assume our engineers would love a satellite. We, yeah, you know everything I know about this. If anybody wants to go away and find out more, please do. Yeah, Vasily, I imagined you would want a satellite. It's one of those things. The best will in the world. It looks like Fortitude know a lot more about this than we do. It may be that we just have to accept that this is something that they're going to get there first, and that within, if we are all working together and we're all on the same side, that's not the worst thing. Even if it may not be the best thing for us, we may have to just accept that in this instance, we don't win this one. Again, that's assuming, and this is no disrespect to Fortitude, we have just started working with you. I'm sure there's lots of things you do that you wonder why we're doing it and whether it is in everyone's best interests. I frequently wonder whether we're doing things in everyone's best interests. Yeah, we would like to know what the plan with this satellite is, just so that we know. Also, if our engineers can borrow it occasionally.
I mean, if you could find out what the reason they want it is and let us know, that would be great for diplomatic relations. Just saying.
Vlad just said in about 4 words what I've just said in about 40. Yeah. Yes. So anyway, yeah, as Vasily said, the biggest challenge from an engineering point of view is how do you start communicating with it in the first place? I did assume that was difficult, but yeah, if you do, Riker, if you do want feedback to your council, if there is anything that we can do to help, you'll have a steady stream of engineers running at you, screaming and gleefully wanting to help. Yeah, I think Vasily is having a moment. Okay, so Project Archimedes. Right, okay, so next probably big threat, potentially, maybe it's not, hopefully not, but just in case, the network. So these are the people that were controlling Project Bunker Fortitude.
Hey,
They're not something we know a lot about,
should be there.
but people
Oh,
did
but
say
forever
things
London,
about
mate.
them
Don't worry about it.
previously
Should be on
nuking
there, don't we?
bunkers, and that
Yeah,
they
alright.
don't like it when people try and leave, and that we may have Fortitude and ourselves may have just put targets on our backs. I know absolutely nothing about them beyond that. Does anybody know anything they want to share? Julian, if you want to talk rather than typing, that's fine.
In my time talking with the Wanderer Eli, whether or not we can believe everything he said or not, he did say, in answer to my direct question about it, he has been to this and seen the devastation that was wrought there. He said it is very much true that they did seal a bunker and nuke it, killing everyone inside.
Okay. Julian, if you want to share anything that you have.
But yeah, alongside the network, Aegis seem to be of a similar size, but maybe the same side of the same coin, or maybe the opposite sides of it. I don't know.
One thing I will say is, I imagine nukes are incredibly hard to come by at the moment. If they've used one, the chances of having another one have got to be slim. I'm not saying rule it out. That might still be a thing.
You very rarely store only one nuke in a place.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Is historically you used to keep them together, so I would think it's either a none or a few kind of situation. You're likely to either have none, or you're not likely to only have one. And
the majority of them were fired at the end, though.
Okay.
If you've got the technology to build them, then you can recreate them. It's just the scarcity of resources. But if Nanite can rebuild it, then if they've got the technology there, they can do it.
I think we have to.
I'm just being optimistic.
You are. I think we have to assume that if they've had one, they potentially have more. And if they have more and they want to send it at us, there's much swearing words, nothing that we can do.
We live in a bunker.
Yeah, the people on the surface don't live in a bunker.
That is true. But yes, there are things we can do.
There are things that we can do. They're not. I'm not willing to give up the surface people and the Raises tribes, and we can't fit them all in the bunker. So
also, they used it to wipe out a bunker.
Yeah, but by taking it inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from a military point of view, the reactions you can take to a nuclear being launched require satellites and other long range abilities to scan, which, to be honest,
I think they actually it was like I believe they're called suitcase bombs, and they took it into the bunker.
They took it in. But, as I say, in regards to the question of if they launched one at us, the first we'd know, I think, would be it. Detonating.
So to return to the Major's earlier point about the network, sorry, I'm not speaking earlier, I was having technical issues with my microphone. In all the conversation I had with Eli the Wanderer, he was, I'm not going to say forthright, but he was honest. He was honest about what he wasn't going to tell us, and he was honest about why he was here. The network exists, they are a threat, they are an imperial authoritarian regime, and they will, to Eli's understanding, and he seems a very erudite fellow, they will be wanting us to answer for delivering new fortitude unto their current status. The person of our acquaintance who probably knows the most about the network would be the good Captain Welkerson. One of their previous deployments in high command of Old Fortitude was liaison with the the network. I almost called it a network there for a moment. So the information exists, and I think it's going to be a case of once we have that diplomatic trust and understanding with New Fortitude, I'm sure from our allies it will be forthcoming.
Thank you. General Washington, is it possible at the next time we're on the surface that we have a diplomatic meeting with any of the council members from Fortitude that would like to join us? We can discuss things like Race has a seat on this council. Potentially one of your council members or yourself would want to also have a seat, a more official seat on this council, to make you more of a full member of the Ascendancy. Obviously, that will be discussions that you will have to have as well. But yeah, if we could arrange a meeting, Ace, at the next time we're on the surface, and Vasily would like trade plans.
Are all council members
I'm sure
agreed
he
with
would.
that course of action?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ace, for reminding me I'm supposed to ask.
I'll discuss with my counterparts and see if we can arrange a time to come over.
That would be great. I think the only other thing that I can think of is Eli and the Aegis. Will we all seem happy that he was who he said he was, that he wasn't an immediate threat, potentially could be helpful, that people were happy working with him? Is that correct?
Yeah, in my conversation with him, Aegis seem to be the type that they will converse with you until you annoy them, and then they will cut you off. They don't seem to kind of
not blow us up.
People. They literally just like my ex-wife. She will literally just stop talking to me for however long, and that is what they do. And there won't be any conversation afterwards. It is a kind of finite. We will work with you till.
I have to admit, I have concerns.
Is that because they didn't like Psychers?
Yeah. Their claim that they don't have any and never have. Yeah, the claim that they don't have any and never have concerns me. Because as far as we've found out, we've not found that only certain people get it or anything. It's been kind of some people have it, some people don't. And there is that concern of why don't they have any? Did they wipe them out?
Again, that is only as far as Eli knows.
Yeah,
isn't it? He will have, in the same way as I believe what I've been told, he will have been told that.
And let's be honest, Vlad, until you showed us, we didn't think we had any Psychers.
No, but they have technology to scan for them.
Okay, right.
Because he picked up that I was one because I walked near him.
Okay.
So if they have any, they know about it, unless they've somehow learned a way to hide their abilities from those scanners, which potentially they might have done. Like, I imagine it's just as much of an arms race as it is with technology. Of every time someone comes up with a way of stopping a psychic power, they probably come up with another way of getting around it.
But Napoleon has very sensibly pointed out that we don't know enough about Aegis or the network or even the wider world yet to say that we can trust them. We've only seen the face that they want us to see, and I agree entirely. You're right. It was.
We can't let our guard down.
No, I think we're fairly good at not doing that. We need to be careful. Don't make any promises. No rabbits. Just find out as much as we can. Hopefully they'll come back and see us next time we're on the surface and we can spend some more time. Canary is possibly the right person. There was something about supplements that they talked to you about.
Well, they didn't talk to me about it. I think that was something they discussed with Julian after the fact because I was busy with raising that situation. But yeah, they were offered a month's worth supply of supplements for the blueprint to our railgun. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes. Eli offered that deal. As he points out that after centuries of living in the bunker, our bodies are designed to cope with that environment. We lack a lot of the basic proteins and nutrients required for effective life on the surface. They've made supplements that give them that, and in return for the blueprints or 5 working railgun devices, so they could reverse engineer, they would give us a month's supply for the bunker and the 500. But I don't
Am I
see
right?
that as
Not an
quite the deal we want.
not an engineer here, so don't know what I'm talking about. Are there real guns that out there that they wouldn't have been able to come up with them on their own? I genuinely don't know the answer to this question. Are there some?
If I may, Minister, I get the sense that Aegis's technological development isn't necessarily geared towards guns and warfare.
Vasily
I-
appears to agree with you.
I also don't get the impression that Aegis expected, well, or at least Eli expected us to take that offer. Eli was very much learning of our character and learning of our priorities. I don't think any of the offers he made, and he made a few, he was expecting us, but he would have learned a lot about us if we had.
Okay, that's interesting.
Okay.
All right, so we.
Do you think? Sorry, I was just saying. Do you think that potentially they would prefer us to make deals with them that are more beneficial to people in general, rather than arming more people? If we were to say offer them a medical advancement that they don't have and we do, is that the kind of thing they would be interested in, rather than things that are good for warfare?
I suspect that they would be more interested in us demonstrating that we can make those developments ourselves, and at such a point as we have proven ourselves to be of such capability and of the right philosophy, inviting us to join Aegis. I don't think they want a short-term wheel and deal. I think they want we are building something, join us. Now, whether or not that aligns with our priorities is another question, but that certainly seems to be Aegis's long-term goal.
That was the
That would
impression I got
explain-
too from the talk I had with him.
It would explain why they told us that the supplements are made from surface plants as well.
Napoleon said they have cybernetics. Okay, I'm not sure the. Okay, it's useful to know. Canary. I remember you saying about that the people on the surface were getting ill. Is that right, or am I misremembering?
To a degree, their illness from. I spoke to one of the scientists on the surface, near some of the 500. The scientist told me that they were seeing improvement in the health, of them, with regular treatment. That were dropping, which I can only assume is from radiation exposure.
Okay. So
It's not something that we have looked into this time in terms of research. It's definitely something that I think we may look through after the next surface expedition, but it's not something that we've looked at immediately.
The technology the only technology I can think of that we're developing that may interest them would be a hive cure. They don't have one. We discussed it. They showed, I wouldn't say significant interest, as they were being very deliberately aloof, but they certainly showed interest in it. And I think if they were looking for us to prove our character and commitment to a developed and peaceful humanity, then that is exactly the sort of thing they would want us to be researching. No, I don't believe they have mega punchy arms or wings. I think they had embedded scanners and enhanced renal systems and such like, Councillor. Well, for Vasily, rather. I apologise.
Okay. Right. So
Do we wish to speak with him more?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
He
I mean,
he did. They were monitoring communications, and we just simply had to let it be known via Ace that we wished a meeting with him, and he would be along for a meeting.
I think that would be useful. It may be worthwhile arranging him to arrive at the same time as the have Fortitude changed their name? Julian, you called them New Fortitude. Is that what is the correct term now?
That was largely a part of our marketing, as it were, for the original democracy referendum. Fortitude or New Fortitude are called whatever Fortitude or New Fortitude wish to be called. That's their determination to make.
Okay.
General.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I think it's a challenge we should make.
Yeah. I think that Vasily has made a good point, and we can't give each of the two groups the time that we need if we have them there at the same time. I think we have a lot to talk about with Fortitude, and if we're also trying to potentially negotiate with Eli as well, that's probably splitting us up too much. So yeah, if we can try and arrange them to come at different times, that would be better. Yeah.
Well, maybe once they've arranged the meeting with Fortitude, we can then send a message for Eli to attend at a different point.
To be fair, I'm fairly certain that Eli will turn up as and when he feels like it.
Yes, I'm not actually convinced that Aegis are looking on our comms. I think that was just the statement of, if you send a message on your comms, I will come and see you again, is true if he's just going to come and see us again anyway.
Yeah. I'll be honest, Julian, our comms are not the most secure things that we
I'm
could
aware,
have.
Minister. I am painfully aware.
We have been hacked multiple times, and hence he could be listening, as could half of the rest of the world.
Hello, Eli. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah, hopefully not to this, but I think our general on-surface comms are entirely different. But yes, you're equally
Councillor
you are
Moon,
correct,
I
and he
would.
may have just been planning.
Councillor Moon, I would add that.
So we shall see. If he does come, great. We'll never know whether he was listening or not. I think we have to accept that when we are on comms, people are listening, because I think that is the safest assumption to make.
I would add that after Operation 8, military comms were significantly upgraded for surface operations. However, I do echo your statement that it is always wise to be cautious.
Oh, from Napoleon is extending his GP service to the settlement for general medical issues. That sounds useful, and yes, Vasily, we need a satellite.
Vasily, what do we need a satellite for?
Talking to people.
Everything.
Everything can be fixed with a satellite. Everything can be fixed with a satellite.
What about a railgun? I'm pretty sure you said similar things about that.
Railguns fix specific problems.
At the time, we really needed one. We're now just reaching that point where actually things like satellites that help us communicate far and wide are more useful.
Fine.
Yeah.
No!
To be fair,
that is a civilian installation.
To be fair, Julian, if we were in a position to get a railgun on a satellite, I'm not sure we'd be having this conversation anymore, because we'd be living in a lovely paradise and have solved all of the problems that we have ever had. With the best will in the world, we're not mounting railguns to satellites quite yet.
Is that the goal? Once we've done that, we know we fight.
maybe the
Succeeded.
Skilly's goal, but I'm not sure it's the rest of us' goal. Right. I think I've now got through everything that I had written down and have talked a lot. Does anybody have anything else that hasn't been mentioned? More specific information that has been missed?
We haven't discussed the ongoing status of the 500 settlement. Does anyone have eyes or ears on the ground for anything that's going on or anything that needs council intervention?
I am working on a number of background issues to do with internal security within the bunker and the 500.
Assume Councillor Michelson's involved.
They are internal issues that I can't talk. I'm happy to talk to you about off this call. I would be putting people at risk by discussing it more publicly. But I am happy to fill you in outside of this. Yes.
Ace has 2 more items for us.
Yeah.
In relation to the condition of the 500, I can add that from the regular reports that are submitted from the security forces, medical personnel and scientific personnel that work with the 500, that there are no current major issues within the 500.
And do the 500 agree with that?
I can only surmise from analysing and offering a summary of reports submitted by active personnel on the surface.
Sounds positive. Thank you, Ace. What was the other issue?
There are 2 items which I wish to bring to the agenda. One is to point out that based on the assessments of the records gathered from Operation 9, there is still a hybrid on the surface which may still represent a significant threat.
Do we have any way of tracking them?
No.
Other than the mundane method of Fang, I think, can actually track.
Major is this is one for you. I assume if we can find it, you want to kill it.
Yeah, I suspected there was definitely one out there. We took care of 3 on the surface mission, but there were 4 stalls, bays, whatever in the facility were destroyed. However, seeing as these were a old Fortitude project, maybe the general would be able to ask or ascertain more information, possibly on tracking them.
I don't think it's a Fortitude project in as much as they were a Fortitude project that has been taken over by Hive. Is that right?
No. We stopped them amalgamating with Hive. They were a Fortitude military project. The reason we took it out was they were going to be to amalgamate into Hive. Hive facility, which we later destroyed.
Could I clarify that a little, Major? So the Hive facility that was producing them, so the Fortitude facility that was producing them was attacked by Hive?
Yes, the scientist within the facility, although he was not given authorization to let the hybrids loose, in fear of his life, let them loose, and they engaged in battle with the Hive. They were then taken over, and later killed the scientist and left to go back to Hive Central. We stopped 3 of them.
Okay. General Washington, this seems to be a case of we are potentially killing something that belongs to you. Would you like to go away and find out what you want us to do with it?
At this point, I think Hive has about as much claim to it as we do. I'll see what notes are left, but after winter contingency, I'm not sure what is left.
Well, we will wait on your side. It is assuming that it hasn't been infected. If it's been infected by the Hive, then it gets to die. There's no question about that. If it's not been affected by the hive, then, and it is still some sort of cybernetic nonsense that nonsense is the wrong word, but it's our word that Fortitude have created, then sorry, the silly has become obsessed with satellites.
Yeah, from what I understand of the data recovered on it, all four were infected with the hive virus in the battle.
Right, so it is definitely infected by hive, at which
Yes,
case...
I was hoping more, possibly seeing as it was a Fortitude cybernetic project, they may have a way of tracking the last one.
Oh yeah, that would be good.
And destroy. Otherwise, we just have to go for it.
Yeah.
So the comms array thing, if we improved our comms, we'd have potential to listen in on everybody else rather than them just listening on us. So we'd be able to face threats knowing what they're planning as they seem to be doing to us.
Okay, I like it as a plan. More information is best. So this hybrid is controlled by the hive, at which point it gets destroyed. Ace, if you can put us,
Intelligence
look
suggests
for some way
that
of tracking it.
the intelligence of the 3 hybrids that were observed in combat and records taken is that although they are infected by hive, they are not actually controlled by the hive and thus represent an anomaly.
The original
we could use them to make a
control.
vaccine.
There was control given by Fortitude, the old Fortitude, as it were, but that doesn't work either. They're not responding to anyone.
So they're not responding to you
If we can
anymore.
capture one. If they've been infected by hive and they've not succumbed to it, that could massively help our medics in the vaccine.
I don't see. Okay, not a soldier. Don't see how you capture one of them alive. If you can't control it, it's not coming. Just gonna say, "Hello, would you like to come home for tea?"
Yep. From thinking back to very late night data scanning after some run in the institute, they were infected with the hive virus, which then itself mutated and rapidly increased the effects of the cybernetic enhancements. The armor they had grown then became fused with their actual body. It kind of, the hive virus interacted with the serums and other genetic modifying things they'd been given, and created effects such as the fact they have a C7 power source running that's kind of grown inside them as opposed to being implanted in them.
Did we recover any of the bodies?
Yeah, I believe we did. There were some
Has anyone taken
investigations
time
done.
to study them?
I'm looking into them from a cybernetics perspective and how that works, but not in terms of anything else. I'm purely looking at the cybernetics and how they were grown within them.
Okay.
Yeah, from what I understand of the data, the C7 and the stabilization serum and the other stuff they were given interacted with the hive virus when it infected them and created like a massive increase in what was happening to them, which may have caused them to go off of hive code as well, off their kind of wanted code, and why they're not responding to either parties.
Right. So we have 2 options. We just kill it because it's the last one, and then we don't have to deal with them anymore. We try and capture it. Actually, 3 options. We try and capture it. We kill it and bring it back, and then see what we can do with the body. Oh. Okay. I don't know. I think that's a moving thing when we're on the surface. That I think we need to find a way of tracking it and go after it, and then see what we can do when we get there. Because I don't think we've got a plan. Or I don't think we will have a plan. I think if we did have a plan, it would fall apart as soon as we got there.
Yeah, I mean, from a
Or if
military
we
point of
just
view,
have the drones keep an eye out for it, get a general location of where it seems to be hanging out, and then when we're on the surface, we get someone like Fang who knows how to track, and we go and find it.
yeah, I mean, from a military point of view, it's something we need to deny High Vulcan getting hold of, because obviously they will then be able to investigate how it's avoided complete control by them, and take steps to possibly counteract anything we might come up with in the future. And also, it's hard as nails, and we don't want Vulcan having it.
Yeah. Okay. So, Ace, if you can have the drones watching out for it in the meantime, and if we can find it, if we can put some time aside when we're on the surface to go after it. If we don't have a direct location, if we've managed to find even some sort of place it's been, Fang, are you happy to track it? Oh, you are on here. Can you talk? If not, can you answer in the chat? Do we have anyone else that can track? Yep, Fang happy to track it if we can at least get some starting point. Okay, that sounds like we have something of a plan. If people who are more suitably minded want to think about how we might capture it, not capture it, but capture the bits that we need or would be useful, that would be great. I don't think we know enough to actually have that discussion now. Ace, did you have something else?
Yes, the final item is a more minor item. I raised this request with the council. I have received a request from a family known as the Robson family to leave the bunker.
From my point of view, we're not a prison. People are free to leave if they want to. There isn't much we could do to support them. We couldn't give them like a huge amount of food and water, but I don't think we would stop anybody leaving. I would feel very uncomfortable if we were.
It's entirely their choice if they want.
I think from their request perspective is that they were looking to try and stay in touch while they were out exploring. So, and obviously, I think they were talking about taking a reporter with them. So they were talking about going on an expedition, reporting their findings, and being able to stay in touch. Then perhaps it's something that we could use to our advantage if we have got a way of staying in touch with them, of almost from a maybe not a diplomatic perspective, but similar to the Eli's of the surface. Then if they are going to explore further afield, perhaps it's something that we can use.
Yeah, they were talking about taking the reporter with them that we met. If you remember the reporter during the overthrowing of a previous tyrannical regime.
We didn't overthrow anybody. They left of their own accord. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Right. I know that Quinn used to spend a lot of time just wandering around, finding things, mapping things as part of his recon role. Potential. We haven't got any recon on this call, have we? No. And so potentially, if they wanted before they went to have some small amount of training so that they could map things, possibly. I don't know how complicated that is.
Well, she was saying that she was a soldier. I think her husband is an engineer, and her children, I think, were scientists and medics. So Oh, I'm not sure if there was children. I might be getting that wrong. But either way, the family, that, apart from having the only thing they don't seem to have is someone from a diplomatic perspective, but they are taking or wanting to. Were approached by the reporter. So I just think if people are going out and wanting to, then obviously like they were not a prison. But if there are people willing to do that, then we should use it to our advantage. If they're willing to help the bunker in that perspective.
Yeah,
I'm all for
I
it.
absolutely.
think if the I don't know how long range our radios are, but if they, I don't know if they already have them as well. They might have their own, but if we can do something to help them stay in contact with us as best we can.
I know what the
Yeah, I
answer
mean,
from Vasily will be. However,
Satellite.
basically, I mean, if they sound like they're going to be more than capable of actually going off and doing this. I say
We
if
can also
it's
fill them in on threats we know about
yeah,
on
I
the
mean,
area they plan to go to.
yeah, but yeah, things like radios. I
I
mean,
just think rather than just saying, "Yes, you can go, see you later," let's try and work with them to, if they are willing. Obviously, I'm not saying that it's something that we're like, you must do this if you're going, but rather than just being like, "Yeah, see you later," we take full advantage of it and see if they're willing to work
I mean,
with us.
yeah, it sounds. I mean, from what Vasily is saying about relay stations, is that Vasily? Is that something portable? Is that something that they could take with them and set one up when they got far enough away if they were willing?
The issue with the current method of communication is that you must expand the communications in a grid-like system. As you reach the edge of current comms range, you effectively deploy a relay. There are several dozen of these relays covering our current known area between Bunker Fortitude and Bunker Ascendant, and Dahl also has some in operation. A requirement would be to manufacture more, as we are running low on supplies of such relays, and they would effectively need to chain them out, and they are not small or light devices.
Okay, so it's probably less practical than it could be. But yeah, fundamentally, if they want to leave, then they can leave. If they want to leave and be as helpful as they can be, then that would be greatly appreciated.
And we can just give them all the advice we can
Yeah,
before they go.
I'm sure we can find someone to have a chat with them before they go, to warn them about what's going on, what areas they possibly need to avoid. We can offer them as much support as they need, basically, as long as it's not huge amounts of water and food, which they wouldn't be able to carry anyway. So yeah, yeah. Okay, so yes, basically they can leave. We will help.
Understood. I shall convey the message and also convey your wishes for it to be a cooperative effort, and hopefully they will respond accordingly.
Right. Does anyone have anything else?
Nothing from me.
Nothing more from me.
I'm good.
So to summarise the findings of the council, and so all councillors can agree, the aim of Operation 10 primarily is operations against the hive, with a view to permanently disabling the hive or removing the hive, and if not, further hindering their efforts. The base will be from the Dahl Institute, and secondary operations will involve further operations against the ancestors, including investigating the accusations against Skane, a surface meeting with the Fortitude Council, a possible meeting with Eli, and a possible operation against a hybrid, with the exact objectives of that operation yet to be defined.
Yep, sounds about right to me.
Are all councils happy with
Napoleon
this?
also. Oh, yeah, I'm happy with all of those. I was just pointing out that Napoleon has put in that he had a request for us as well.
Go on then, Napoleon. What is it? Is this going to be via text or is this going to be a speech?
I don't. He's not been speaking on.
Yes,
I believe this is. I believe this is the request regarding security around the Rabbit facility.
That's correct. Yes, security and access for authorised personnel only, as to the delicate nature of the research ongoing in there, especially the dream suites.
Napoleon, we had already agreed amongst the council that there will be security there. Everyone who is working there will be vetted. We won't be limiting who can work there, but everyone that is working there will be vetted before they can work there.
Oh, and part of it, I believe you mentioned previously, was about bureaucrats. We still need them there.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was mainly just you were suggesting only medics be able to go in, but we need the other people there as well. We need the engineers to maintain it, medics obviously for what we're doing, soldiers for security, and the bureaucrats for
Keeping everything going. Let's be honest.
That's fine. I was just mainly concerned about the dream suite and the subject we have there, which we're using for our ongoing research.
Absolutely. That's why we're increasing security and why we are vetting all staff that will be there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Councillor Moon.
If I may interject, as those who have entered the Ryback facility are aware, the Ryback facility is a mainly subterranean facility that consists of two main subterranean floors. The first subterranean floor is general work areas, science areas and terminals, and it is the second floor that lies below it that houses the dream suites and test chambers themselves. These are separated by a lift and an emergency access shaft, so maintaining security to the actual dream suites themselves should be a relatively easy operation to undertake due to the physicalities involved.
Yep.
That was what I remembered. I think it's as under control as it can be. Not making any promises because of the nature of what's being done there, but we are doing as much as we can to keep it safe and make sure everyone is safe.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, I think we're done then.
Very well. I would like to thank all councillors for attendance and thank all guests for their attendance and their questions posed for the council, and we will draw this meeting to a close.
Thank you, Race.
Thank you. And on a bit of an informally side of things, if there are any psionics that are listening at the moment and would like to have a chat with me, feel free. No pressure. If you don't want people to know, I will also not tell people that you are psionic.
I've got mad psi powers.
Thank you, Vlad. Thank you, Vasily.